And the good book says in Galatians 5 verse 1, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by the yoke of slavery. So we are free. The Bible says we are free. Christ set us free. So we can't say that we are slaves because Christ doesn't have to worry about the burden of slavery because we are free people under Christ because we have a bigger picture. This is not a stop. They can tell us what to do here, but up there, where we're waiting, we will not be told what to do because we are free.
Shots fired, bloodshed, death, all in the name of politics. Two sides fighting for their own purpose, to free a people or to not free a people. That is the question at hand. Killing for a cause, does it justify itself? A doctor, a man, was there through it all.
Keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom.
What is your perception on slavery?
A slave is defined in the Merriam Dictionary as someone who is legally owned by another person and is forced to work for that person without pay. If you own something, then it's your property. And the question arises, are slaves just property or are they people? And due to the treatment of African Americans in America, we can see that slaves were not people. They were beaten, trapped, captured, released, sold, auctioned. A slave wasn't a he, she. A slave was an it. I bought it ran away. Slaves weren't considered people. What's your perception on slavery?
You have to look at it this way. Slavery was in the best interest of the economic success of the nation we now know today. Slavery is the only reason we can call this great nation the United States, from 13 colonies to 50 states.
Put on a team with untrained men. They didn't have specialized equipment. Beating Kansas, known as Greater Violence in Kansas Territory. Kansas Territory was required to do a surgery on the internal body. The patients really felt the pain. The procedure would have taken around 60 minutes in a single session, and if done in several sessions, it would have taken up to 12 days to complete.
What was one of the boldest moves to strengthen slavery?
The Fugitive Slave Act, which ensured that all escaped slaves would be returned to their slave masters, and anyone who helped a runaway would be convicted of a federal crime, resulting in fines and imprisonment. The Fugitive Slave Act also strengthened our fight against abolition, because more Northerners joined the fight against abolition. And if the abolition movement was such a great cause, how do you explain some of their radical acts? And where is the distinction between what we slave owners do and what the abolitionists do for their benefit? The 14th Amendment states that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Slaves are property, meaning slave owners do whatever they want with their property. Slaves. Meaning abolitionists took the right slave owners had of making a profit using their property.
African Americans were forced to attend white churches with their owners. They heard sermons about slaves' contentment and slave obedience. Many African American slaves longed to hear sermons about their freedom and want to create their own churches, but they weren't allowed to gather because their owners thought they would be planning revolts. Hello, please state your name, your career, and where you're from.
My name is Kimberly Davenport. I'm a congresswoman, and I'm from the great state of Maryland, which is in the greatest country ever, Confederate States of America.
Please, ma'am. We have to introduce the other person. So can you please tell us your name, career, and where you're from?
My name is Whitley Gilbert.
Whitney?
Whitley.
Oh, okay, continue.
My name is Whitley Gilbert, and I'm from Macon, Georgia, and I am an historian.
Okay, this question's for the both of you. What's your perception on slavery?
Slavery was honestly the greatest thing not only to happen to America, but especially African Americans. Negroes are honestly the most ungrateful pieces of property, human beings I have ever seen. I agree completely.
Of all the slave stories I've heard, Dred Scott's story fascinates me the most. He thought slavery was some type of river and bank game, with river being slave states and bank being free states. That slave traveled to a free state and made the point that he should be a free man, since he was in a free state. What a stupid man.
Black abolitionist David Walker published in his pamphlet in September of 1829, he said, "They want us to be their slaves and think nothing of murdering us. Therefore, if there is an attempt made by us, kill or be killed. And believe this, that it is no more harm for you to kill a man who is trying to kill you than it is for you to drink water when thirsty." They long to hear sermons about their freedom and want to create their own churches, but they weren't allowed to gather because their owners thought they were planning cults. This intermingling caused the creation of black spirituals that depicted the emotion of slaves and also created other songs like Makes the Lone Man Feel Bad, which were songs that were sung while slaves did work in the fields. The election of Republican Abraham Lincoln in 1960 led to the succeeding of 7 southern states: South Carolina, Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, and Texas. These states succeeded because the party who was against African enslavement was in power of the Union now. So these states rather leave unity with the United States than run the risk of losing their slave ownership and economy at the same time. Slavery's days were soon numbered.
So you were a congresswoman, correct? Give us some of your political perspective on Abraham Lincoln.
Good old Abe was a peacemaker. He secretly sided with us on pro-slavery, but because of politics, he had to pretend and to be both pro and anti-slavery.